What's up, you guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Let's Just Be Real podcast. I am your host, Marissa Tong. Thank you so much for tuning into another episode. Happy freaking Friday. If you guys are listening or watching this on a Friday, I hope you guys are doing well and I hope you're having an amazing week. So, fun fact before we get into today's conversation. This is my second time recording this podcast because my dog decided to come and play and act crazy and ended up disconnecting my cord that records. So basically the mic cord to the setup of the podcast. So ended the podcast that we just recorded with no audio. So here we are again. It's okay though, because nothing too crazy was talked about. It's actually fine because I was actually doubting the first episode. Well, the first round. I was like, I don't know if I really like that. But here we are. Okay. It's late. It's late. I had a class tonight. Milo, please don't come over here. Okay. Check on your dog mom friends. Okay, the last episode we talked about actual moms, but don't forget about your dog mom friends. Are we okay? Are we doing okay? Because these dogs are out of control. Anyway, y'all, I hope that you're having a beautiful morning or a beautiful afternoon or a beautiful evening. Today, I want to talk about books. We're going to be diving into the topic of books, some books that I have read that have truly changed my life and my mindset and all of that. I want to share with you some books that hold a special place in my heart, as well as some books that I'm currently reading. So let's dive right in. So before we get into it, I want to give a little bit of a background on my relationship with reading and my relationship with books, because I'm not going to sit here and lie and pretend that I've been reading books forever and the past couple years. That's not true. I actually haven't read in a really long time. I used to love reading as a child. I was always in the library. My mom kind of instilled that in me to really become a really good reader and to be intrigued by books and wanting to read books, not feeling like it was a chore or a task. So I remember as a child and even going into maybe early teenage years, I definitely stopped reading around teenage years. And I'm sure a lot of y'all can relate, because we were worried about other things like boys and dating and being out in these streets. So that was just something that was not a priority to me. And also I was doing theater and I was more into performing and dancing and acting on all that stuff. So reading definitely took a place in the back seat for some years. And then I decided in 2022 that I wanted to read more. And that was something that I wanted to get back to and I wanted to be serious. And I've had books that have just been sitting in my home for a couple years and I've just either haven't finished them or I haven't started them. So I want to talk about some of the books that I read last year. I'll try to go in order, but it might not be in order, whatever. So one of the first books, and I don't have all of them with me because some of them were checked from the library, but some of them I do have here. So if I have them, I'll show them to you. One of the first books that I had read 2022, I finished, I want to say in 2023, was Think Like a Monk, Jay Shetty. If you guys know who Jay Shetty is, he's an amazing health expert. I don't even want to call him a health expert, more just I guess an expert of life. He talks about how he pretty much went and became a monk and he was living in a monastery for some time. And his book is pretty much just about lessons that he's learned and how we can kind of take those monk lessons, or the things that he learns as being a monk and how we can put them into our actual daily lives, living just in the regular world. So he talks a lot about meditation. He's one of the reasons why I got into meditation and how I learned how to meditate. And it was just something that I really wanted to strive for, because the way that he described, the feeling of being in meditation or the benefits of it, that was something that I really wanted to feel myself. So shout out to Jay Shetty. He's doing great things. His podcast is amazing, On Purpose. And then we went into, well, this is in no order, but Your Best Year Yet by Jenny Ditzler. This was a really good read. So this one is basically about just creating the life that you want for yourself and really getting clear on like what you want. So 10 questions for making the next 12 months your most successful ever. You don't necessarily need to start this around the time of a new year. You can start this honestly whenever. And it is a workbook, so I wouldn't suggest getting this from the library like I did. I got it from the library to start, and then I realized like I couldn't write in it, so I ended up just buying it because it does have a lot of like prompts, and yeah, there's a lot of things in here. Like she has you actually like create a plan. A lot of questions like reflecting and talking about like values, reviewing your life, seeing like where you are, comparing your growth. It's a really good book to just, get the ball rolling. The next book that I remember reading after that, or I don't know, this might not be in order, probably isn't, but The Alchemist. So The Alchemist is another one that a lot of people gravitate towards because it's just like such a compelling story. Like it's a fiction book, but this character, the main person, he talks about like this journey that he's on to find like this treasure. And we see him go through like all these challenges, literally like challenges like being robbed, almost being killed, and going through the desert. It's just like all of these challenges he has to face. And in the end, we see that like he gets everything that he wanted because he stuck with the path and he stayed on course. And even though it was challenging, like he did it, right? Like, and when you think about like alchemy is literally like turning things into something else. So, taking your life maybe not being so good and then turning it into something amazing, but knowing that like it's not going to happen overnight and that you have to kind of just go with the journey and the flow of life and trust and know, it's also good for like building your spirituality as well. So the next book was Atomic Habits, which I'm sure you guys have heard of, very popular one, mainstream. James Clear, easy proven way to build good habits and break bad ones. So if you are someone who is struggling with like consistency or discipline, or you're just not happy with like what you're doing every day and you're wondering like, well, where's the time going? Why am I spending so much time doing this? He talks a lot about just making your life easier by doing things that are not that hard. Honestly, like we make our lives so much harder by procrastinating, by waiting until the last minute, by adding on extra work. He talks a lot about like habit stacking, which is a really good thing to actually adopt. And I'll give you an example. So a good example of habit stacking would be like putting things together, right? Like making sure that whatever you want to do, you're putting it together or right behind or together with whatever it is that you have to do. So a good example could be like, okay, I want to get more into like reading and audiobooks. I know I have to wash my dishes. I hate washing dishes. So why not put on the audiobook, right, while I'm washing my dishes? So I'm getting two things done at once. A lot of people would look at that as multitasking, but it's more like it is habit stacking, right? Because you're creating this habit now where like, okay, every time I wash the dishes, I'm going to do A, right? So he breaks it down that way. I do A, I do B right after, or I do A, and then that leads me to do B. So just finding, easier ways to get things done, right? And then he also just talks about like making our lives easier by just tackling things as they are, right? Like just tackling things before they get too crazy, right? So for instance, again, going back to dishes because I hate dishes. So instead of waiting until you have like 15 dishes in the sink, wash them while you only have two. He talks a lot about like being a lazy person and how most of us identify with being quote unquote lazy. We don't want to, really do a lot of things. So you're actually making your life easier instead of waiting until things pile up. Just do it quickly, while you don't have a big mess. Do it while you don't have a bunch of work. So that was a really good read as well. Okay, next book we're going to talk about, You Are a Badass. This actually was not a new book on my list. Oh my god, I'm about to drop my books. This was actually the first like personal development or like self-help book that I bought in my 20s. I don't even remember how old I was when I bought this book, but I'm just going to tell you something right now. When I first bought this book and started reading it, it did not resonate with me the same that it did when I reread it. Like at what 31, 32. Like it's so crazy because I remember reading this book and being so bored and not understanding it. And now when I went back and read it, and plus I also did the audiobook to kind of like go with it. I like audiobooks and I've never been like a big audiobook girly, but if it's narrated by like the author, I feel like there's more value in it and it kind of gives just a little bit more meaning to the book, just to like hear someone who actually wrote the book, read it. So it just, gives a little bit more like pizzazz to it. But this was actually a really good book. And what's funny is I'm sure like when you read the title, like You Are a Badass, How to Stop Doubting Your Greatness and Start Living an Awesome Life, you're not going to think that this is a spiritual book, but she talks a lot about spirituality in this book, like faith, having faith, trusting the universe, trusting yourself, kind of just like, yeah, I don't it's a good one. It's a good one. I'm sure most of you guys have read it, but if you haven't already, you could definitely give it a read. It's also a little bit funny too. She throws some comedy in there, but definitely a good one. We also have here Girl on Fire. This was a book that I actually got recently. I want to say in when? October, November. So this was part of a gift bag. I went to actually Kara's event. Kara's the author, Kara Allwill. She actually has her own podcast as well. That's how I discovered her. But Girl on Fire, it's a pretty good book. It's actually a really short read. It's great for women who are looking to either start their own business or just start betting on themselves and start taking risks and just stop like worrying about what everybody else is thinking about them. So How to Choose Yourself, Burn the Rule Book, Blaze Your Own Trail in Life and Business. Really good one. Girl on Fire, Kara Allwill. Amazing one. She's like, she's such a boss. I love her. I went to an event that she hosted back in, I want to say November, October. I don't remember. Time be moving. Wow. I don't even know what day it is. But yeah, her event was really good. Okay, next book. We only have like 3 more left. This one, The 7 Spiritual Laws of Success by Deepak Chopra. This is a really good one if you are someone who's looking to get more into your spirituality. Also, someone who's like looking to manifest or you're just like doubting yourself. This pretty much just breaks down like the laws of success. So, like, the law of detachment, which I think we had a podcast episode about. So the law of detachment, we talk about intention, desire, the law of least effort. So it pretty much explains like how things can naturally come to us and how we can attract things in our life without trying the most and doing the most, because we are supposed to be creators, right? Like we're supposed to be able to manifest and live our dreams. So, practical guide to the fulfillment of your dreams. It's a really good one. I think everyone should have it. It's kind of like a Bible, but it's really small and short. You can actually also get it as a pocket book, literally like a little mini version. So, shout out to Nicole because she got me this one. But I had also read the audiobook, but it's nice to just like have this with me for reference. So definitely suggest that one. We also have Becoming Michelle Obama. I actually didn't start that one yet. I literally just borrowed it from my mom. So I will keep you guys posted on that. But I'm pretty sure most of y'all have probably read it. And then let's go into, oh my God, I'm about to drop my mic over here. Let's talk about these 2 books that I'm currently reading. One of them, I'm literally like almost done. Ask and It Is Given. Not sure if you guys know who Esther Hicks is, but she is big in the spiritual community. She is a channeler. I don't know if you guys are into that. It's actually pretty deep. Like if you're not deep into like spirituality and manifestation and stuff, probably wouldn't read it just yet. Okay. I would suggest like going on YouTube and just researching Esther Hicks and listening to like some of her talks. But Asking It Is Given, Learning to Manifest Your Desires. This is this is it. Okay. This is the one. And then when I'm done with that one, I'm going to start Rich Dad Poor Dad, which has also been highly recommended. So if you want to learn about money, I haven't started yet, so I can't give you, much, but pretty much just talking about like finances, the mindset, the myths, how to become rich, all that. So I'm excited for this one. If you've read it, let me know what you think in the comments on YouTube or in the question box on Spotify. Let me know what you thought. But yeah, guys, these are my books. There's more here. Like I have Amanda Seales. I actually need to reread her book. I have the Britney Spears book. I haven't started that. So I have my hands full this year, y'all. Like I am going to be reading. It's really hard. And this is the excuse that I used to make all the time. Like, oh, I don't have time to read. Oh, I'm so busy. Like, oh, I'm always on the move. It's like, well, girl, like, of course you're not gonna have time to read because you're not making time to read. So come on now. Like, let's be real. Okay. You're not making time to read. So if you're anyone who's watching this right now and you're like, I don't have time to read, I'm busy, books are boring, get into audiobooks. I don't know what to tell you. Like it's just something that you have to get into. And I'm not going to lie, when I got back into reading after taking a break from not reading for so long, it was kind of boring. I was falling asleep a lot. Like I wouldn't be able to like finish. I could only read a couple pages at a time. But guess what? That's okay. Like at least commit to 2 pages. So now something that I do is I try, and I'm not going to lie because it doesn't happen every day, but I put as part of my morning routine to read for at least 10 minutes. Most of the time, like I be so into the book that it ends up being more than that. It'll end up being like 15, 20, whatever I can swing that morning. But I put it on my list because I wanted to get into that habit, right? So again, talking about atomic habits, like what are the habits that you want to adopt? What is going to help you to elevate, to get to the next level? What are the things that you really want for yourself? Are you someone that wants to learn through reading? Are you someone who just, wants to escape through reading? Are you someone that likes fiction? Do you like romance novels? Like, what type of books do you want? And what is your goal for this year? I think it's really nice to have a reading list to kind of like just put things into perspective and maybe have one book a month that you can read. Can you commit to one? Can you commit to 2 books a week? What's the date that you want to finish it by? I use Notion. I don't know if you guys know about Notion, but it's a really good platform. You could do it on the desktop or you can download an app, but I use it for habit tracking. I use it for my weekly to do, my daily to do. I check off my boxes of things that I need to do every day. I also keep my reading list on there. So Notion has been really helpful. And you could also add the dates in there. They have pre-made templates. So you could already go in there and find a reading list and just plug in whatever books you're reading. And then you could literally put the date that you finished it. And so that way you could keep track and all that. So yeah, guys, if y'all are into reading and you want to read more this year, then definitely take those suggestions. I will try to remember to put these books in my Amazon store. Some of them should already be in there. If you want to go ahead and check them out, I will put them in the show notes. But yeah, y'all, I hope that this episode was helpful to you. We are thriving and elevating this year. So that includes feeding your mind, okay? Feed your mind, feed your soul, educate yourself. Let's elevate together. If you guys are watching on Spotify or not watching, if you guys are listening on Spotify or Apple, make sure you rate and review the podcast, okay? Preferably 5 stars. And if you guys are watching on YouTube, hit that like button, drop a comment. Let me know what books you're currently reading. Let me know what your next book is that you're going to read, or let me know if any of these books interested you or if you have read them. Yeah, y'all, this is it. So thank you so much for tuning in. Happy Friday again if you're listening on the day that it comes out. I will see you guys in the next one. Take care, y'all. Bye.